Welcome to Photoshop User TV, brought to you by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. And now, here are your hosts, the Photoshop guys.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another almost solo episode of Photoshop TV, brought to you by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, the people that produce this magazine that Pete Collins is not holding up yet.
I was busy looking at myself on the screen. Sorry, guys.
Come on, man. This is a very cherished position, Pete.
It is.
It is not to be taken lightly to hold up the... No, not sitting next to me, holding up the magazine. I was
really contemplating when you said nearly solo.
You might as well be carrying the Olympic torch.
I know.
It's the same thing.
Sorry, guys, I let you down. But a great magazine.
It is.
They sponsor this show. What else do they sponsor?
Photoshop World. In fact, we're going to talk about Photoshop World for a second. So if you don't want to hear about Photoshop World, then fast forward to...
Grab the little slider.
Yeah, grab the little slider and go forward. Hey, we've got Photoshop World coming up, and it is obviously brought to you by the NAPP. It's coming up in Las Vegas, September 5th through the 7th. It's the week of Labor Day. So if you're going to be out near the West area at all, and you can make it to Photoshop World, make sure you stop by. I'll be teaching there. Pete's there. Scott Kelby, RC, Corey Barker, Joe McNally, Dave Black, Joe Grimes, Lindsay Adler, Tamara Lackey's going to be there. Pete's got
some of the greatest teachers, photographers, graphic designers. It's just huge. You can take part in all that right there. Look at that. Bam.
All of it.
That could be you right there.
If you're into Photoshop, photography, lighting, and just having a good time at a conference, check us out. It's over at PhotoshopWorld.com. And do me a favor, take a look at if you're going to go, stay where everybody else stays. Stay where the instructors stay. It's really, I always tell people, immerse yourself in it. When you're going to go, just go, forget about it. It's so easy, especially in Vegas, to go to shows and to gamble and do all these different things. But I always tell people, if you want to get the most out of it, kind of just throw yourself in, go to every possible thing that you can. And when you leave after that 3 or 4 days, you'll feel like you just did a ton, and you'll feel like you got your money's worth. So.
And don't forget that the early bird special, save $100, is going to be ending August 3rd. And if you want to get the special discount that we have with the hotel in Mandalay Bay and the hotel, it's going to end August 6th. So if you don't procrastinate, if you do it right now, right after the show, go sign up, get your hotel, you're going to save money, and you're going to get rid of that angst that you're going to have if you don't do it.
Stop watching the show, in fact. Just go do it now. All right. Pete, you got a tip?
I do have a tip. Let me see. I got to pull up this program called Photoshop.
I've heard of that program before.
Yeah. And the tip
it would have been good if you had it up before.
It would have, but then, y'all expect too much out of me. And this one comes from, I'm doing a big composite for Photoshop World, and this is an element that I created in Photoshop with the 3D that's so much easier in Photoshop CS6. And before I added some texture, I pretty much just did it a 3D extrusion without any texture. If I was as good as Corey, and as a matter of fact, I need to get some tips from him because I thought about some things I'd like to do with this, I would have added some texture in the bump map of it. I don't understand that all the way. So I just did a simple extrusion, and then I started adding these cracks and this texture from this wall, laid it on top with a multiply blending mode. But this is the tip I wanted to share with you. Whenever you're adding textures, and let's say you've got something like this where it's got a depth to it, if you leave it with the lines going across like this, these should actually interact with the depth of this, the O, the N, and something like that. Here's a great opportunity to just grab your stamp tool and make sure you've set it up so that it's going to select all layers. And what I do is I will come in and I will grab an edge like this, choose my reference point, and then I'll just bump this up, and I will start to hopefully add a new section to it. Let's try that again. My stamp tool is fighting me. Isn't that nice?
I love it when that happens. You know what? Photoshop senses fear every now and then.
Yes, it does. Here we go. So while we do this, as my stamp tool tries to then change to something else. So.
Oh, Photoshop is frozen?
Photoshop is frozen up. I know that's just so unlike this program to do it when we're on the air.
Hey, luckily you have CS6, though, and you have autosave turned on so that it'll autosave whatever you're working on.
So this is what we want to talk about today. What happens when Photoshop freezes up while you're giving a demonstration?
Restart your computer.
You have to restart. You have to
make Matt do a tutorial,
Matt,
or toss to a break.
Let's do something while I figure out what's going on with Photoshop.
Wait! I saw something
action.
change.
Yes, let's try that again. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Yes, now I just simply select and sample that area. Thank you for that distraction. And now I'm going to just move this one line up and retrace that line. And then as I bring it down, since I've made sure to keep my stamp lined up with the area there, I'm now just going to bring some of these textures, some of these lines, and just bump them up using simply my clone stamp tool, so that when you start to read it, it looks as if that crack is not just going straight across all the letters, but it's actually bumping up. And
cool.
So if you will look at what's going on with the textures that you're laying in there and how they should interact, your clone stamp tool will often be a great tool to just be able to give it that little extra touch that'll make it look like it's interacting with the surface.
Nice. If you, and, you know, one of the little tips you can do is if you do it on a separate layer, then you can move it around a little bit too, and you kind of have some leeway there if you ever want to change it after the fact too. And that's because you chose. I'm pointing at your screen as if they can see, but because you chose that all layers option in the beginning.
And that's what I was going to do till it froze up, and then I froze up.
It threw you off.
And there you go.
All right, hey guys, we have a very quick break coming up here. After the break, I have an HDR tutorial, but I'm gonna ask you to, if you don't like HDR, if HDR makes you scream for the hills, I'm gonna ask you to still watch this, because it's an HDR tutorial that I think everybody could use. Anybody that shoots outdoors, basically. I think anybody could use a tutorial like this, whether you like the HDR effect or not. We'll be back in just a minute. We'll see you then.
I can't wait to do this again.
Oh, hey everybody, we are back with Photoshop TV. I am joined today by Pete Collins, and we kind of didn't tell everybody ahead of time too. We also have a special guest tip. We had Tony Corbell in the studio, and Tony, I've known Tony for years. Tony used to work for Nick Software. Tony's done a ton of training, and he's one of those trainers that, you know, back when I first started in this stuff, I learned from Tony. He's a master at lighting, master, you know, portrait photographer, but he's also very, very good at post-processing as well. So, are we ready? We're ready. So we got a quick little jump over segment to wherever Tony is, because he's not here right now, but we'll see where.
Hey everybody, RC here, and I'm really, really excited to be able to be here with famed photographer, commercial, editorial, light master, Mr. Tony Corbell. Tony, what's going on, man?
Thank you, RC. I'm glad to be here, buddy.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
It's
good
great to be
see
here.
you.
Thanks.
So, for those of you who don't know who Tony Corbell is, tell us a little bit about what it is that you're doing. So, You do photography.
I do photography and have for a long time, just over 30 years.
Wow.
What's interesting is I've had a career built on photographing people mostly, commercial, editorial. I started as a wedding portrait guy in the early 80s, late 70s.
Oh.
And now I'm doing a lot more editorial commercial work when I do shoot. But now, of course, I'm also working with Nik software
That's
as
right.
well. So.
And I think that's something that I think that's really interesting, because you're a photographer and you're out there. You're out there working and you're doing all of that kind of stuff. And I think that the other half of people know you as the person that's doing a lot of the stuff at Nik software. Tell me about that. Tell me about what you do there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I started using their tools about 10 years ago or so, and Nik software got in touch with me. It's funny that they're located in San Diego, and that's where I'm from. They got in touch with me about 3 or 4 or 5 years ago and said, hey, why don't you come on board and help us with some educational materials? And we want to develop an educational department. And so I got involved in training there, and I produced a series of videos. We've got about 120 videos on the website.
Wow.
We started a whole new webinar campaign where we're doing about 20 free webinars a week. So there's a lot going on there. And so I'm full-time. I'm 50, 60 hours a week with Nik software.
Wow.
But I can't take my hat off, my photography hat off. I still shoot. I still teach workshops.
But
I'm still pretty out there.
But I think that's one of those things that probably also strengthens what you do at Nik software, because you're not kind of talking about it in the ether. It's not a, well, let's kind of talk about this because it's a good feature. Anything that you're talking about is probably directly relatable to problems that you see out in the field and things like that.
Yeah, stuff that I hear. I think it helps to be more relevant, because I am pretty plugged into what's going on photographically, and because we've got a company we're all photographers in this little company, and it's really great because the tools that they're creating are really designed to make photographers' workflow better, easier, smarter, all that sort of thing. And for me, being as active as I am in the community, I think it does help. I think it does help with product development. It helps with how we use things and listening to the market and paying attention to what photographers want and what they need.
That was one of my favorite things. I went out to the Nik office. We were talking about this, and you sadly weren't there. I was actually working with a couple of the guys for HDRFX.
Right.
And we're doing stuff, and we're working, and we're doing all of this stuff, and they're like, all right, let's go out and shoot. And I'm like, you mean we get to leave?
You mean we get to take pictures?
We get to go take pictures. So that part was really, really cool. But I'm really excited to be able to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
But Tony's got a series of tips for us that you're going to be sharing. And you're starting off with this image.
Yeah, this is a picture I just took this weekend before last up in Los Angeles. This is the Disney Music Hall in downtown Los Angeles. And this is just a magical place to work and shoot. And this was literally shot from the sidewalk. I mean, this is not a tough... This is almost a drive-by shooting, It's a pretty simple picture to make. And I like the lines, and I kind of like the composition, but there's a couple of things that I wanted to change. And one of the things that I wanted to do to it, I'm just going to open up, I'm in Photoshop CS5, and I'll just go to, I'm going to go to Nik's Color Efex Pro 4. And I'm just going to add in, there's one filter I want to attempt to apply here. I think it's going to help this picture a little bit. It's called Brilliance and Warmth. If I click on this Brilliance and Warmth filter, and if I really just take this warmth to the right a bit, you can see there's a little bit of warmth in the lower right portion of the image anyway. I think it's going to pull some of that warmth up a bit. And then if I bring up my saturation just a bit further, I can start to see that, here's before and there's after. And it just brings a little bit of that. It brings a little bit of that color out. And so I don't want to oversaturate. I don't want to make it look cartoonish or like a postcard too much. But sometimes I just want to bring out that subtlety. And that one little filter, that Brilliance and Warmth, allows me to do that. And it works really well. And then the other thing I might do to it is I'll just click to Add Filter. This is the new Color Efex Pro 4, of course. I'll click on Add Filter, and then I want to go down to Pro Contrast. And Pro Contrast does a real nice job of if there's any shift of color, it'll help take care of that color correction for me. And then it just gives me the ability to bring up just a little bit of contrast. And I kind of like what's going on with that.
So. Now, walk me back over to what you just did over on the right-hand side, because, I mean, obviously I'm familiar with it, but for those who aren't, in the Color Efex Pro 3, what you would do is you would just take a filter, you would put a filter on it, click OK, go back into it and do it again.
Right.
But now you can stack things on top of one another.
And that's exactly what we call them. We're stacking filters now.
Okay.
So for the first time, we can just stack as many filters as we want over there. And it's great because, for example, like Lightroom users never had the ability to add a change opacity, for example, for one filter or another filter. like you could with layers and working within Photoshop.
Okay.
Well, now we can do that too. So I can come down here to where it says control points, where our U-point technology is, and I've got an opacity slider. So I can pull that opacity back on any of these individual filters, and I can just click on. I can change their position. I can put one filter below or above the other filter, and I can just start stacking up my filters.
That's my favorite part right there, but we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that in another lesson.
In another one. But and see, and that's I think the point with it. When you're working with plugins and you're working with this kind of software, the ability to be able to do that very, very quickly, I think, is what's important here.
Yeah, it's pretty important, and I think that's the thing that most pros talk about more than anything is what they don't have any more of is time. We've got to find ways of saving time, and there's too many people that are spending all night fixing what they spend all day shooting. And so if we can shorten that edit time from 12 minutes per image down to 3 or 4 minutes per image, or even 2 minutes per image, I think that's what the key is. And to do it with quality, of course.
Now, I'm going to make a shameless plug for him. Because he's not only here to be able to talk to us about Nick and talk to us about the benefits of the software stuff, you're also recording some classes on Kelby Training.
Yeah, I'm real excited. We're doing a series of lighting videos for training, for Kelby Training. And we shot a bunch yesterday. We're shooting a bunch more today. And yeah, it's looking good.
Nice.
Glad to be a part of the team. That's
awesome. That's awesome. Well, he's going to have, Tony, you're going to have a couple more tips for us?
Sure.
That we're going to run through the season. But for now, just wanted a quick intro. Make sure that you take a look. Now, if they want to be able to see more information on you, where do they go?
Well, you can always go to nicksoftware.com, and you can also go to my website at corbellproductions.com, and you can check out there. I'll have a schedule of all my workshops, tutorials, and all the things that we're doing there as well.
Awesome. Great to see you.
Thanks, RC.
All right, back to you guys.
All right, well, we're back. We want to thank Tony so much. He is such a great guy. He is like...
Tony rocks.
He is like the sensei of photography. If we were going into, martial arts terms, he would be that wise guy that would teach you all the right moves. Yeah. Speaking of all the right moves...
Great teacher. All the right moves. All right, so I got a quick HDR-ish tutorial for you. And so I said this in the beginning. If you don't like HDR, still watch this because it's a way to use HDR that's a little bit different. I have Bridge open here and I have 3 photos selected. By the way, this works exactly the same if you were using Lightroom as well. You could go into Photoshop's HDR Pro from Lightroom. But I've got Bridge open, which is about the only time in the world I ever have Bridge open because it sucks. And I'm going to go to the Tools menu, go down to Photoshop, I'm going to go to Merge to HDR Pro. So I've got 3 different exposures. I've got one where I exposed for the highlights, one where I exposed for the shadows, and one where I kind of exposed right in the middle of both of those. And you can see kind of the thumbnails over here. So it takes you into the Merge to HDR dialog. Inside here, usually you get into this 16-bit mode. All right, so you can see all the HDR Harry Potter-like settings that you can do inside of here. Well, if you change it to 32-bit, which by the way, you can still use remove ghosts. You could still use Photoshop for the alignment, and there was somebody that was walking across the altar here, so you could still remove ghosts from it and everything. I know it sounds weird removing ghosts from the altar.
a chapel.
But you could still do all that. Here's the key: just click OK. All right. Don't change anything, just click OK. We're going to go back into Photoshop. I know the photo doesn't look anything like you'd want it to look here, but we're going to go back over into Photoshop. And one of the new features is that Camera Raw will open a 32-bit file, which is what we just created inside of HDR Pro. So if I come up here to File and I go down here to Save As, and let's just go into, all right, let's put it right in here. Let's call it PSTV. And I've got to save it as a TIFF file. So I'm just going to change that to TIFF. Click Save. Click OK. And close it. Let's go back over here to Bridge, and you'll see there's my psd.tiff file. So all I'm going to do here is go File, Open in Camera Raw, because you don't just have to open up RAW files inside of Camera Raw. You can open up JPEGs, you can open up TIFF files. So I'm going to open this up inside of Camera Raw, and if anything should sell you on this, check out the exposure slider. I can go plus or minus 10 stops. So you'd never be able to do that with just one RAW file. I think you're limited to 4 or 5 stops with just a RAW file. But you'd never be able to get that type of tonal range from a RAW file. So it gives me all this leeway on the shadow side. It gives me all this leeway. Look, I can turn the lights on and off. just by moving the highlight slider. And I get all this tonal range because it's a TIFF file that's really a conglomeration of 3 different files that were built right into it. And there's a ton of things that you can do in here. Maybe go through.
So you basically just doubled your leeway with your picture being able to do that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if it's double. It seems like double because it goes from 5 stops to 10 stops. But yeah, you're giving yourself, whether you're into the look that you get from HDR or not, that doesn't matter. You're giving yourself more range to be able to adjust your shadows and highlights. So whether you're shooting indoors where you have windows and things like we have here, or whether you're shooting outdoors where you're battling a bright sky and a darker foreground, this becomes really useful because now you can just do more with your photos. So pretty cool stuff. And again, it works exactly the same. If you're using Lightroom, you could still go into Photoshop's HDR and do this whole thing. So everything will work the same.
That's cool.
All right. What do we got?
Well, now we are going to...
A break. Not me, a break. That's to see that teleprompter.
I know, I was going to it. I was
That's
hoping you would pick up on that.
All right, hey guys, we got a quick break. When we come back, we got some prizes and giveaways and all that fun stuff. See ya. Hey everybody, the Photoshop guys here. Pete, me. That's it. That's all you got today. Hey, quick moment to take a moment to thank one of our sponsors, MPix. You just saw a commercial from MPix, but if you're watching this live or you watch this week, this is the last week to check out their Hip My House contest, where you can basically win like a $5,000 shopping spree for MPix to furnish your walls. So it's pretty cool stuff.
And make sure you check it out. You can go track down RC's got a great video.
Yeah, he did it over on Scott's blog a couple of weeks ago. So if you go back about 2 weeks, you'll see that RC did a video, and it's got a better point than just checking out the contest. It kind of talks to a little bit about photographers and what we do with our photos and whatnot. So make sure you go watch that. As for other prizes, what do we got here, Pete?
Well, in line with having Tony Corbell come talk to us, we've got Nick Effects Pro, HDR Effects Pro. Great package there. Ties in with your HDR too. Look how connected we are.
It is.
And then we've got, you like this book a lot, don't you?
Or it's our buddy, Rich Harrington.
Yep. Understanding Adobe Photoshop CS6. Rich Harrington is a phenomenal guy, awesome teacher, and these are just 2 phenomenal books that you can get. What do you have to do to get these books?
Just go to kelbytv.com/PhototshopUser TV. Leave a comment on this week's show, and we'll pick somebody. That's about it. All right, Pete, you got any closing thoughts, words of wisdom?
Well, we definitely need to say thank you to Nick Software, but also Peach Pit is one of our sponsors. They are the ones that do these books. We want to thank you so much. Without these guys, we wouldn't be able to do Photoshop User TV. A lot of things wouldn't happen. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for watching us, being here with us. Make sure to check us out. This is live going on right now. If you don't see it live right now, make sure you check back with us over at kelbytv.com. And make sure you check out Photoshop User TV also on the NAP site.
Yes.
That is NAPP, National Association of Photoshop Professionals.
If you're a NAP member, make sure you check out the NAP site, because there's new stuff going on there every day as well.
Well, if you're not a NAP member, you need to go check it out, and you will become a NAP member. We have phenomenal stuff. Each of us puts something up just about every day. Throughout the week, we've got new stuff. Definitely worth checking out.
Awesome.
That's it. Matt, thank you so much.
Pete, thanks for being here. I missed you.
I love being with you, Matt. It just makes me happy.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you again next week on Photoshop TV.